right. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to SUGCON User Group Conference, SUGCON 2018. And ladies and gentlemen, we're proud to announce this year's conference is happening for the first time in Asia, and it happens to be in this very famous city of ours, Namma Bengaluru. Ladies and gentlemen, can I hear a big round of applause for everybody? Welcome to SUGCON 2018. Before we begin, I'd like to specially mention the sponsors, for without your support, this conference would not be possible today. Beginning with the strategic sponsors, Microsoft, and the independent platinum sponsors for SUGCON, and diamond sponsors for SUGCON Horizontal Integration. Ladies and gentlemen, can we hear a big round of applause for both the sponsors? Thank you so much. Now, to kickstart this afternoon, our first speaker has been associated with SUGCON since 2011. He's a seasoned, passionate techie, strategist, and a leader. An expert in community building, developer ecosystem management, technical marketing, and program management. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, put your hands together and please welcome on stage the Senior Director, Technical Marketing at SUGCON, Peter Brinkman.
All right. Hello, Bangalore. I'm very happy to be here. It's my first time in India, and to start with, I want to thank you all for your hospitality, your friendliness, and of course, your great food, although I've only been there for 2 days, and I have 4 more days to go, so I'm hoping to experience a lot more of your culture and a lot more of the city. So thank you for that. And of course, I'm very happy to be part of this community event. This is the first time that we're doing this in India, and India is important to us. We are here today with more than 200 attendees in this room. 200 SUGCON enthusiasts are here to learn more about our platform and to engage with each other. So today, I want to talk to you a bit about change, about evolution. So the world's always changing. It's a continuous evolution. But so is our beloved company, SUGCON, and also our community. We have seen the India community evolve. It started with a few blog posts that we recognize from India. It started with a lot of content from India. We saw books, videos, multiple user groups, modules. It's all coming from here. In a few years, India grew to one of our biggest developer centers in the world. And you are all working on our shared customers. You're working for customers, you're working for our global partners to make our customers successful. And I want to thank you all for the hard work you do for our customers. So, as I said, the SUGCON community is changing. It's growing. There's continuous evolution. But there's good change in that, because also the SUGCON technical stack is changing with the introduction of new technology, of new product. We welcome a broader variety of expertise. We vary expertise from .NET to commerce. We have front-end to JavaScript these days. We have UX people. We have data science experts. And we have digital strategists and marketers. And having all these different expertise provides us all with the opportunity to learn from each other and to get more knowledge on different expertise. So a lot of great changes happen to the community. But also, SUGCON is changing. SUGCON is becoming a more mature company. As in my introduction, you heard I've been working for SUGCON from 2011. I remember I was employee 200-something. We had global SUGCON meetings in the Copenhagen office. The whole company would flow in, and we have a meeting with the full company. These days, we have offices all around the globe. We have developers working 24/7 to support you, to create new products, to add new features to the product. So, with change, people are also moving into the company. We have loads of people from the community joining SUGCON, bringing the expertise from the field, bringing the expertise about how you actually build quality implementations with SUGCON to our product department. We also see people leaving SUGCON towards our community, sharing their expertise from the product with the community. And this is great and healthy evolution. A year ago, as you all know, Mark Frost joined our company as CEO. And he introduced loads of new processes, and he's shaping the company to keep our successful growth. But more important, he's here to ensure that our partners and our customers are successful with Sitecore. So while many changes are happening internal in Sitecore, there's also changes that impact you as a customer, as a partner, as a developer. And I'm very happy to announce to you today one of these changes. Starting from this fall, we will ship our software twice a year. Once in the spring, once in the fall. This will be our typical major or dot releases, containing new functionality and of course possible breaking changes. The other types are the updates and the patches releases you already have. These are released to support our customers and our partners based on the needs. But there's a small important change in it. These patches and update releases will not contain any breaking changes. So what does this mean for you as a developer, as a customer, as a partner? So the new release cadence is for all product. You get predictable and aligned releases across all the Sitecore products, including SXA, including commerce. We have improved our internal processes and launched new quality improvement initiatives to increase the quality of our products. But the point where I'm most excited about is, with this new release cadence, we'll ship complete products. We won't only ship the bits, but we also include things like translation, training, and most important, documentation. So change, of course, is not limited to the community. It's not only limited to Sitecore, it's also in your life. Take a look at your daily life. Think about, where were you 10 years ago? Think about where the internet was 1 year ago. It's changing continuously. There's so much movement in the space. The big tech giants, Google, Facebook, Amazon, you name them, they are changing the world. They're defining the new standards in web. They're defining the new standards in connectivities. The possibilities these days are endless. But because of these tech giants, they're also influencing expectations. They're influencing expectations that people have when they visit websites, stores, or have experiences, both offline and online. And next to the tech giant, of course, there's all these startups. There's government regulations. For example, in Europe, we now have GDPR, which is a big thing where we all need to adapt to. So how do we as a vendor, right? As a vendor that creates a platform where you can build experience on top of, how do we innovate to be ahead of these trends? And more important, how do we enable you as a partner, customer, developer to innovate based on our platform? So this is one of the reasons why I'm so excited for user group conferences. We had one in Berlin 2 weeks ago with 600 people. Now we're here with 200 people. And these days you will see what people have done with Sitecore. It's not about new features, not about new releases. You will see what others have done with Sitecore. And I will see what you are creating with Sitecore and learn from them. So I'm very excited about that. But it brings us to a question with change and trends. How do we as Sitecore address these constant innovations in our space? How are we sometimes unknowingly ahead of trends? So to tell you more about innovation and how Sitecore enables you to innovate, I want to invite technical evangelist Rob Erlen to the stage to tell you more about it. Come on, Rob.
Thanks, Peter. So as Peter said, he spoke to you a little bit about evolution, but I want to speak to you about innovation. Sitecore's always been known as a strong innovator throughout the field, and we want to continue to be that way today. We're constantly releasing new, groundbreaking features. I want to speak to you about a couple of those now. Any of you who joined us at Symposium last September, October, or the Digital Destiny Tour we had in January and December throughout the world this year, you'd have heard about Vicky and her interactions with through the Habitat Home store. What we did there was we showed an example of pulling in third-party real estate data. That was then used to personalize Vicky's interactions with the store and gave her a really unique and beneficial experience when interacting with the brand. This was all powered by XConnect. XConnect is one of these innovations that Sitecore has pushed forward. It's the abstraction layer we have, which allows you to pull in third-party data from any system you want, store it in XDB, and use that in real time to create really engaging, personalized experiences. And we're going to have a great talk on that, covering the basics of XConnect, delivered by Alok. I think that's tomorrow. But once we have all that data in there, we need to be able to action it. And that's where Cortex comes in. With continuing improvements in machine learning, we need to be able to analyze all of this data we're collecting. And through that, you can let Sitecore surface potential segments that it identifies. People who performed in this way also perform this way. And once we get that data surfaced out to the merchandisers and marketers, that allows you to take it a step further and do automated personalization, taking all the steps out of the merchandiser's hands, allowing it to be performed for you, saving a lot of time. But this story isn't just about the platform. It's also about commerce. And you want to take advantage of all of these features in your e-commerce stores as well. By using all the features in Sitecore Experience Commerce, you get the power of commerce combined with all the functionality and power of content as well. And it's a really rich user experience. You can even take it all the way down to the storefront. That means that when you go into a store, your customer service reps can have all your previous interactions available to them directly, allowing them to help you in person as well as online. And I'll be doing a talk tomorrow, giving you an introduction to some of the features you get in Sitecore Experience Commerce. Alongside this, we also have our headless story. So Sitecore has been able to do headless for a long time now, but we've recently started to evolve that with the release of JSS. This is now in public preview, and it's basically a headless story where you can pull it basically lets you disconnect your head from your backend, so you separate your content and your presentation. And we have a talk coming from Chaturanga, which is going to cover that. We're also helping you to accelerate your development. This is Rue's Sitecore Experience Accelerator. It's a full framework that's built against Sitecore Helix practices. And it's a component library that lets you drag and drop all these pre-built components onto your site for you, building your pages without involving any developers. I'll be showing a demonstration of this tomorrow in my commerce talk, and there's an extension to SXA called SXA Storefront, providing commerce-specific functionality. So as you can see, Sitecore is pushing the boat with innovation, and we're going to keep doing that. But now I want to hand you over to Akshay.
All right. There's a sync difference in the slide, so it's kind of hard for me to go on. But let me try looking over there. All right, connection. So first of all, just wow, standing here looking at the full room. I can't believe that we're having our first Sitecore User Group conference in India, that too in Asia. This is just an amazing experience. As some of you know, I've tried to do this a couple of years ago, so this is just great. It's great that we're all connected online, but the problem is that we've never met people face-to-face, like Chaturanga, for instance. I introduce him as SE Footsteps to people. They don't know his real name, but it's nice to meet people in person and make connections that way as well. SUGCON, so Sitecore User Group Conference, started off with a little dot in the Netherlands. Then it grew into EMEA, all over Europe, then North America, Australia, and now in India. So these events are huge. The reason why they're huge is that the content is generated by the user, not by a marketing department or anyone of that sort. So how that's useful is that you could attend these events and get information as to how Sitecore is being used at this moment in time, and you could go back home and you can actually use it. It's not a concept, it's not a pie in the sky. So that's why these conferences are extremely useful. Now, the other thing which is very important, and if you guys know me, you should know this, is that there's quite a few people who put in a lot of effort in the community to have things running, being connected, being helpful, and things like that. These three are one of the top three, so the Sitecore community website, Slack, and Stack Exchange. If you're not part of any one of these three, you should be. These are great resources for finding solutions to problems, great resources to get connected to people. I always advocate for any of these. There's several admins in the community who will help you get through this. So if you're not part of this, reach out to me or anyone else. And the other thing I'd like to mention is that it's great because India supports a lot of clients, right, which is amazing. But at the same time, when I'm sitting there looking at the social feeds for Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, I don't see a lot of you guys on there. There's no sharing. So there's sharings from pockets. It's great that we're doing a lot of user groups, which is amazing, but we can step up a lot more and share a lot more of the blog posts, videos, anything of that sort. And again, these three are the top three you need to watch out for. The other ways you can contribute, so you could get inspiration from events like the hackathon, there's the virtual developer day. Our Core Sampler is a good example of a podcast. Good way to get to know people, what they do, how they get started, things like that. Sitecore Cognitive Services, a couple of the guys who are very smarter than I am, got that started. It's a very cool project to get involved in to learn more about machine learning. And projects like Robbie, I don't know if all of you guys are aware, a couple of the guys from Europe built this robot which runs off of Sitecore in the back end, recognizes what's been said to it, and processes that input. It's really amazing. If you haven't seen the demo, I'm sure there's something online. But the point I'm trying to make is you could get inspiration from any of this and start your own thing. Like if you wanted to do a video series, for instance, like Mark Stiles does, you could get started on that. If you need help with ideas, help with promoting it, or anything of that sort, you could always reach out to anyone in the community and they'll be more than happy to do so. One of the great things I take pride with Sitecore is the community is what makes Sitecore. So when we speak with people who work in, say, Salesforce or Microsoft, there's an amazing community for them too, but it feels like Sitecore community is a little bit different. There's more of like a brotherhood kind of scenario where people are willing to help you in different platforms and things like that. So definitely a great thing. The other one which I wanted to go over is the Sitecore MVP award. So it's a clear distinction. It's not a certification. It is an award. It's an award given by Sitecore recognizing an individual for the contributions they've made to the community. So Peter once told me when I first got my MVP that, hey, if you're doing what your company is paying you to do, that's just part of your job. You need to do above and beyond. So what does above and beyond mean? Helping people on Stack Exchange, social channels, blogging, do a video series. A lot of people get discouraged by, oh, well, someone's already done a blog post on XYZ. That's great, but your perspective might be a little bit different than the person who's done it 3 times over. So don't let that discourage you. MVP award is a very prestigious award. I'm happy that I've had it for several years. But doing that requires a lot of work, and you can get a lot of benefits from it. It feels really good to help other people. On a final note, again, I can't tell you how happy I am. If I can smile, a really big smile, I would have a smile like this. But there's some great sessions, again, mostly from the community on commerce, on XConnect and JSS and other topics. I really, really think that you guys should try to get the best out of the sessions, talk to people, network. Even though we are all in one country, it might be hard for you guys to collaborate with each other. So online presence definitely helps. So definitely do that. And then last but not the least, I'm going to thank Sitecore first because they did a lot of support on this, logistically, it's a nightmare. It is extremely difficult to run events like this, I know, from running one. But sponsors are a humongous help. So I'd like to personally thank Microsoft and Horizontal for going above and beyond and helping sponsor this amazing event. So I hope you guys have a lot of fun. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen, for that very insightful session. For our next session, ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together and welcome on stage Sabin Ephraim, CEO, Horizontal Integration, a Sitecore Platinum Partner.
excited for the day. I want to take a minute here to thank Akshay here specifically. I know we thank Sitecore and the sponsors, but he's been very persistent about bringing this here. I know a couple of years back we tried and he never gave up. He doesn't work for Sitecore, so everything he does is outside of his regular job. So you really need to give him a round of applause for everything he does to bring this here. It's really good to see this crowd. I was at the first Sitecore symposium in Boston, and that room was half the size of this. So it's really good to see. This is just the user group here. I'm going to tell you a little bit about horizontal integration. We are a digital agency. We build what we call friction-free digital experiences. I think over the course of the day, my partner Chris is speaking, and you'll understand what the term friction-free means. Tell you a little bit about the history of the company. Thank you. I know you don't want the music. We started the company about 15 years ago. Myself and my partner Chris here, we were partnering on a very large engagement for our strategic partner here, Microsoft, and we built a marketing automation platform. At the time, Chris worked for the agency. McCann Erickson was one of the largest global ad agencies, and I was consulting from a technology perspective. As we built the solution for Microsoft, we realized that there were digital agencies that did great sort of creative and user experience work, but they struggled when it came to the technology side. And then there were technology firms that did great technology solutions but didn't understand the user experience. So we said, why don't we start a firm that does both? Because at the end of the day, otherwise what happens is the customer is left with connecting the dots and figuring out how to make this all work seamlessly. So that's how Horizontal started. The idea was to bring to the market an agency that does full end-to-end services from strategy, design, user experience, technology, and then implementation. Along the way, as we started, we came across Sitecore. It was another platform in those days, if you remember, the technology platforms had the same problem. They either worked for the marketing audience or the technology audience. So it was really hard to find both sides to agree on a solution. And that's when the innovative company Sitecore came to the market. So we almost kind of came together at the same time. And they took a very different perspective. Everything they built, and even today their DNA is about working for the marketer as well as the technologist. And that's why they are successful in one of the leading experience platforms in the world today. So that's how we got together. Over the course of time, we've grown into one of the largest Sitecore partners in North America. We've got an office here in Bangalore now. We started out with our office in Baroda in India. We've also opened an office in Dubai. And we're excited with where Sitecore is headed. We are a platinum partner. We've got our partnership with Sitecore started, as I mentioned, about 15 years ago when Sitecore entered the North American market. We have 11 MVPs, a number of implementations under our belt. So we've learned a lot along the way. So what I want to do as we go through the rest of this event, I want to leave you with some really key themes, right? The idea is you guys are all developers, you're building great solutions. But I want you to think about what you do on a daily basis. This is what we do on a daily basis. We build digital experiences for some of the largest brands. That's what we live, that's what we breathe every day. And you guys are doing the same thing for your companies, right? So it's very important as you get going to really focus on building great solutions for on-Sitecore. At any point in time, whether it's day or night, there is an Indian somewhere working on a Sitecore solution, right? And what you do is very important in terms of what you build, because it affects Sitecore. If you don't build world-class solutions, it affects the reputation of the platform. So the key takeaway with this is to get certified, learn, share amongst the community, and build great experiences for your clients, because it reflects on the platform, reflects on all of us as Indians here, right? Secondly, don't forget your users. There are two users, right? There's the end customer that's consuming a website, but there's also the marketing customer internally that has to use this on a daily basis. They have to go out there, launch pages, launch campaigns, do personalization, measure the analytics. Don't forget them. I know it's very easy as technologists, we get out there, we write a piece of code or build a component, but you need to start really thinking about how does the marketer use your component, right? How do you make it easy for them to work with it? How does the user consume it? You guys are users, you consume on websites. Think all the way through, rather than just building a very point solution. So you play a very big part in terms of the solution that ultimately comes together. So I want you to use these sessions to really learn how these solutions are put together. Think about your marketer when you go back. Think about your customer, right? Don't just think about the little component that you have in front of you or a page or a template that you're putting together. That is how you're going to be successful for your organization as well as for your end customers. We live in a very different world today, right? It's very disruptive. The companies that you work for, they are trying to be different online. So you play a big part in it. And if you're not helping them get there, they're not going to be around. So think about that when you go back every day. And lastly, we're in this together, every one of us. The community is going to help each other out. You're going to help your businesses out. We're all going to share and learn how to do this together. So with that, keep those themes in mind. It's something that over the last 15 years, I've seen our team, that's in our DNA, that's what we believe in, right? It's not about just developers coming in and building some code. We think about what we're actually doing. We think about how we're solving the business problems. Keep that in mind. And that's all I have to share with you. Thank you. Right?
Thank you, Sabin. Ladies and gentlemen, a gentle reminder regarding your tweets, your posts, your Instagram pictures. Make sure you post them, talk about this event. And we also have a goodie bag, right? All you need to do is post it, talk about it on the social media networks, and flash your posts, right, at the registration counter. And we have a lovely gift. You'll like it, I'm sure about it. Make sure you use the handle, hashtag SUGCON 2018. Moving on, ladies and gentlemen. Here to share with us his thoughts and plans for Sitecore's way forward is an independent IT consultant all the way from Sri Lanka. And he's got 8 years of Sitecore development experience and over 9 years of web development experience. He is a certified Sitecore.NET developer and is part of Sitecore's MVP, Most Valuable Professional Community. Currently, he is also a self-employed IT consultant. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, here to talk about taking Sitecore headless with Sitecore JSs, let us please welcome on stage the co-founder of Sitecore User Group Sri Lanka, Mr. Chaturanga Ranatunga. Can I hear a big round of applause?
Good afternoon, everyone. So, since I hope most of them are Sitecore developers, so you should have someday face that when you get a new team member into your front-end developer into a team, you will always face these kind of problems. So we have to educate the front-end developers on what are the components, what are the layouts, they are struggling with the tools that we are using, like they are not familiar with the Visual Studio. So those kind of issues are largely there. How many front-end developers do we have here? Raise your hand, please. Okay, we have a few. So you should have, already know what the issues you face when you are first introduced into site. So today we are going to discuss a new module that Siteco has introduced, which will solve most of the front-end developer issues. So let's that. So a little bit about me. I'm Chaturanga, and I'm 3 times Siteco MVP, and I'm from your nearby country, Sri Lanka. So let's get started on JSS. So what is JSS? JSS is a new module that is developed by Siteco to support the JavaScript developers. So this is still in a technical preview stage. So and a little bit about how will I will approach the presentation. I will initially give you an explanation of the definition. Then we will directly move into a demo where we will see what can we do or how we create a first our application. And after that, we will move into theory part at the end of the presentation. So the description of this Siteco JSS service is a set of capabilities allowing JavaScript developers to build and deploy web solutions. That means single page applications, campaign pages, or website using modern UI libraries like Angular, React, and Vue.js in a physical decoupled way. So it is a physical decoupled way. We will discuss those things in demo without losing the value of the Siteco experience platform. So I will directly move into a demo. Then you will understand. We will discuss what these features are. Can you move to demo? It's fine. Okay. So what we're going to do is we will try to create our first JSS app. So JSS create, and we will have to give a, I hope you can see in the back. That's fine. So we will have to give a name. Okay. JSS or something. And we will have to then choose a template. So Siteco has provided few templates. We will discuss more about that later. So I'm going to use this template, basic sample React. So then it will try to install that JSS app in our machine. So hopefully internet is good. So what it does is it try to get those modules from a repository and try to set up the application, first JSS application in the machine. So as you can see, our first JSS application got installed. So what we'll do is, I will try to run that one. So as you can see, this is our first JSS app. It is that easy. I mean, you as a front-end developer, there was nothing you have to learn about site code. You don't have to set up a site code environment. So to prove that, I will stop my currently running site code instance also. So you can see that is still running. So also now we will have a look at this code, little bit about this code. So I'm going to use Visual Studio Code and trying to add so this is the code that got installed, which runs this website. So if you want to verify it is all this website is running from the code, what we can do is we can do it with something. So as you can see, you can see. So as you can see, it's the code that we change reflects in the website. So that confirms, that is to confirm we are not using any running site code instance. So can we move back to slides, please? Yep. So from this demo, what we covered was there was from the definition, there was a set of capabilities allowing JavaScript developers. So you didn't have to know Sitecode, or you didn't have to know set up any Sitecode instance in your environment. So just run some CLI commands and you are ready to develop. So it is that we covered to build websites, that there is a website, to build the website using modern UI libraries. So for our demo, what we used was React module. There you can either use Angular or Vue in a physical decoupled way. So that what that means is I am not using any running site to develop this application. For example, I was using the Visual Studio Code, and you can either develop this in Mac, so you don't have to actually have a running Psycho instance. So from the environment that we just install Psycho, what you only have to do is have these three. For example, you need to have nodes installed in your environment, and you need to have npm or yarn install, and then the SSCLI, you have to install that one. Then this last part is the one we just use, JSS create, whatever name you can give, and a template. So that's all you need to get started with development. So that is how easy it is. And we will cover a little bit more. Can you please switch demo? Okay. Ah, yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, okay. So, we are going to, yeah, yeah, yeah. So I'm going to, okay. Now, since we have created our application, we are going to deploy this application into Sitecore. So for that, I need to have a running Sitecore instance. So I'm going to start my Sitecore instance. This one. Meanwhile, that is loading. We will have to do some configuration also. We'll have to run JSS setup. It will ask for few parameters. So website root folder, that will be using this site. Run and Psycho host. Host will be contest.sc, and there is asking for API key. So I will show you where we can find the API. So if you log into a SUGCON instance, you have to move into core database and in settings, services, API key. I have already created that one. So the usage of this API key is to allow, I mean, we will discuss this further later. So allow define you the which users should be use this service, and you can allow which control should be accessed. Currently, I have allowed every user and every control to be accessed. So I'm going to copy this one, that one, and finally the configuration is done. What it actually basically does is it will create a new configuration file under your JSS app with those properties. Okay, then there's another one final configuration. Yeah, you will have to give a host name for your application. So currently it is using SUGCON one. So I'm going to keep that one. Yes. I'm going to add some binding. bear with us for a few minutes. These things happen in a live demo. Yep. So I have added that into bindings, and I will add it also into the host file. Okay. Okay. Then now we are ready to deploy this JSS. First, we will have to deploy the configuration, that is JSS deploy config. So what it did was it just copied this configuration file into sitecore. So it contains site definition and some other information. Now we are ready to deploy the application. So with this JSS deploy packages, it will deploy our first JSS application into a sitecore instance. Yeah. So now it is finished deploying the application. Let's move into sitecore and see if we got those. So we are in the master database, and if you open the content editor, you will see this one is the one we created. You will see there are some items that are deployed into sitecore. So, and if you go into templates, you will see the templates are already created using those code that have defined in that JSS application. So if you want to run this, so you can already use experience editor and you can change the code. And so with this demo, what I have to show you is without, can you switch back to slides? Yeah, thank you. So with that demonstration, what I need to show you is without we deploy this JSS application without losing any features that are defined in sitecore. For example, so you develop your JSS application in disconnected mode or separately from a sitecore instance. After deploying, you will by default have the functionality or all the capabilities of sitecore experience platform into the application. Okay, for this demo, what I needed was I need to have the Sitecore 9 installed. So to deploy the JSS application, and to use JSS, you should need to have the subscription license. And JSON, you have to install 2 JSS packages. So that's simply for get this deployed into Sitecore. So as we initially saw that it is very hard for the front-end developers to work with Sitecore solutions, but with this new module introduced by Sitecore, it will make the front-end developers' life much easier. So since we initially did the demo, we will start covering some theory part also. So before moving into Sitecore headless, I'm gonna discuss what is this headless CMS generally. So in traditional CMS, what we had was we had a content creation part where you are allowed to create content. Then you had content management where you can manage the content, workflows, users, authenticate those things. Then you have the content delivery part where you code to change the content and deliver. And finally, you had the content presentation where you have, this is basically the website you deliver to the front end browser, for example, HTML. And with headless CMS, what it happen is you still have the content creation and content management, but instead of content delivery and content presentation, you have is a set of APIs which will return some structured data. So in this scenario, you will have to manage the presentation by yourself. So CMS will not provide you with any presentation. So in Sitecore's when Sitecore goes to headless, what it does is it will still have the content creation and content management as we saw in the content editor. And then Sitecore has introduced an API called layout service, a different layer where it will output all of those data in JSON format. So we can have a quick look on that format. Can we switch back to demo? So basically this is how Sitecore will output that JSS. You will have the Sitecore. And here you will see the home item. I'm querying from home item. You will see the placeholders. And you will see the placeholders, all data in JSON format. So with this layout service, can we move back to presentation? Thank you. Okay. So the layout service will return JSON out. So we'll look at more about this layout service now. So in earlier versions like Sitecore, before Sitecore 9, Sitecore 8 and earlier, we had this kind of structure where you had the Sitecore personalization and Sitecore presentation layer, and on top of that you had the rendering engine where you read those and content and then serve the website, that is basically HTML. With Sitecore 9, what they have done is they have introduced a new layer or new path on top of the presentation layer or layout service. So you still have that normal path where you will be able to develop your applications with using C# and CSHTML, those technologies. But there's another path where you can be connected to layout service and read the JSON and develop your own using the website using those data. So this layout service, little bit description about this layout service. It is simply a REST endpoint where it will provide all the necessary data in a structured way for given URL or given item request. And it will serialize the placeholders, data source items, what contained in the fields, everything will be served in JSON format. And by default, this is the tracking is enabled, so analytics will be enabled by default. So each and every feature that comes with the traditional earlier Sitecore will be available in this way of JSS applications also. And one nice thing is it will respect the caching also. For example, if you set a caching on a rendering, JSS layout service will also respect that caching setting and try to cache those JSS fragments. So currently, JSS is supported with these libraries, React.js, Angular, and Vue. And they have also trying to get it working with React Native. So I know there was this lot of theory, but bear with me a few more slides to go. So we will now discuss how you can use this into your project, how you can apply this into a project. So when you are, as you are starting to develop a JSS application, there are 3 types of ways you can start in JSS application. First is disconnected mode. That is the one we initially did. We didn't have in our demonstration. We didn't have any running Sitecore instance. We just had only a node and some CLI, JSS CLI installed, and we just running a one command, JSS create. We had our disconnected environment setup. So that is the first mode. And there is another mode that is connected. That once you deploy it to Sitecore, then you are using a Sitecore instance. So that is called connected mode. And integrated mode is another way. For example, when you are using experience editor, that is one way of using integrated mode. And there are some modes defined by the JSS team for production and also for demoing purposes. So we can discuss about the approaches or workflows that these code projects can be handled. First thing is code first approach, where you initially front-end developer initially create the JSS application without having a Sitecore instance. Then he is completely unplugged from any Sitecore instance. Once he has something to push, he will do the JSS deploy. That is the one we did in our demonstration. And other way is Sitecore first approach. In this approach, what you do is backend developer or someone will create the templates, items, and every content structure in Sitecore first. Then what the front-end developer should do is he will have to read the JSON output that comes from that one, and then he will have to code to get those data and code according to those already defined structure. So if we compare these two, there is some advantages and disadvantages. So in the code first approach is best when you have front-end led projects. When you have a lot of front-end developers in a project and you'd like to start it from that side, better to start with code first approach. Then in that, and also JSS team is suggesting this. Yeah, this code first approach is good for small websites or single page application or campaign websites. And they are more suggesting towards the Sitecore first approach for larger applications. And for the Sitecore first approach, what you need is you need to have a first running Sitecore instance, and this is as I discussed, this is good for large or complex solution. And one thing to keep in mind that there are some structures you will have to create inside Sitecore. So it might be a little bit time consuming because there is you have to define the container structure and template structure as they requested. So what one thing KSS team has suggested was you can still start with a sample application using the code first approach. Then without doing any development, just push it into the Sitecore instance. Then it will automatically create all the template structure, item structure. So they prefer that way, so you will save some time on that approach also. So we will have a much closer look on the demo. Thank you. So earlier we had a quick look at the how we can create applications like that. So I have created a simple app, SUGCON India. So I'm going to run it to just show you initially. So it is just a simple app to show you a demo this. So you will have this header and some promos, and you have a footer. So we will have a closer look into the code, how these are defined. So inside this our code, you will see there is a component folder under Sitecore, and you will see each of these components are defined. For example, footer. So this will define what data will be used in that footer item. So as you can see, this is just any front-end developer can do this. So this manifest file defines how the footer component should behave, or how it should look. And for the example, in header, you will see some field definitions, title, description, and you can set the field type also, that is multiline or image. Likewise, you can set the field type. So each of these components I have used, I have defined those manifests. So and how you define how the presentation is under source, and here you for each component I have defined my presentation, and this is how HTML will look like. And this is how the promo looks. So that's basically it, and you will have to register those components in a component factory. This is because you are using JSS is connecting the Sitecore item with the JSS app using the name of the item, or the component. You will have to configure that in the component factory because of that. So I have already deployed this one into Sitecore. So if we look at Sitecore, you will see as earlier you will have the home item, and under that you will have all the promo. These are automatically created. I didn't create anything. Once you deployed it, all the promo and header items will be created with the given data. For example, okay, so we see that how the components are defined, but we didn't see how this data is being assigned. So that part is done by this route definitions. This is simply define which URL should be shown to which component. For example, this inside routes, you have this YML file where I have defined all the components that needs to be added into that home page, into this page. For example, I have this home item and I have placeholders. In main placeholder, I have added a header component with these values. So those are the ones will be visible here. Then I have another component called 3-column layout. It is just for separating the promos, and inside that I have 3 placeholders, left, center and right, and those have included promo component. So that's how I get these 3 promos. And finally, route has this component. As you can see by the order, it is added into the main placeholder and footer, and it doesn't. I have hard coded it because to purpose of having a year or some year dynamically. So, and that is how the component is displayed. And once you publish it, the data will be automatically populated into those promos. And also, if I show you the templates here, for promo template, you will see promo image title with all the data types, field types that define in our JavaScript code. So these are all should be done by the possible to done by the JavaScript developer. And if we try to run this using Experience Editor, you will see it is possible to edit it. So as you can see, you must understand this is done without any help from any backend developer. So they have to set up instance, that's all. So it fully support the Experience Editor mode also. And can we move back present? Yep. A little bit about the roadmap. This is provided by JSS team in SUGCON Europe. So they are now currently working with Preview 4, where they are trying to move away from ship for the deployment purposes, and they are trying to give the support for React 16.3. And as I mentioned earlier, this is not available, it is still available as a technical preview, and they are expecting to make it available with the next fall release of the SiteCore product. So I hope you got some understanding of what JSS and what its purpose is, and you get more information about this, you have the JSS site, jss.sitecore.net, and you have the community forums, SSC and Slack, where you have separate channel for JSS. So, and the creators of JSS are very helpful of answering our questions. So you can try it there. So any questions? If you have any questions, I will.
Yes, in case you have a query, please put your hands up. I'll hand you the mic.
JSS, since we are deploying on CD environment, right? So all the CD instance we are setting up. So all the DLL is required related to sitecore DLL, right?
I didn't understand your question.
No, my question is, right, since we are deploying on production environment, right? Okay, yeah, now. So for setting up production environment, CD environment, right? So only we move to Java related files, or we have to move all the DLL related to sitecode?
Okay, okay. That's
my question basically, so it will support analytics related functionality you wanted to, analytics and personalizations.
Yeah.
So
as I mentioned, with the description says without losing any capabilities of Sitecore Experience Platform. I only showed you the usage of Experience Editor, but as I mentioned, they by default add the analytics into that, and also personalization, everything. And if I can show you the Here, this layout service is developed on top of the presentation layer. So all the capabilities like personalization, testing, A/B testing, everything is supported by JSON. And answer your question about the CD, they support those scenarios as I showed you that I didn't go into detail about the production modes. So you will have like there's two these packages you will have to install. Two of them are only needed in a CMN instance. One is only needed in a CD instance.
Okay, so in that case, means Sitecode DLL need to set up in the CD instance also. Sitecode DLL need to move. All the Sitecode DLL need to move, right? On CD instance.
Yeah, there is a package where you can install in the, same package you can install in the CDNs. So it will have all the necessary DLS and it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, I have a small suggestion. Before asking your query, please introduce yourselves. Thank you.
Hey Chitranga, my name is Neeraj. I work for Sapient Reservice. Thanks for this good session. In one of the slides, you mentioned about the manifest, right? What's the role of the manifest in this entire framework?
Okay, the manifest is how you define these components. We should have a way to define which templates, how they should be created like that. So manifest is used to define those definitions. For example, component is defined with the name of the component, what are the field types that will be used for that component data source, likewise. So with that, I need to give you another thing, even though front-end developers can put into these applications, they should at least have some idea about what are the layouts, what are the items in Sitecode. So as you mentioned, when they are defining the manifest, it will be useful. And that is needed to define those details.
Is it like XSD that we used to have, or B-defined content, B-defined template fields, the relationship inheritance, right? So manifest, are you talking about the sample JSON or YML file for the front-end developers?
Yes. That is the thing I was discussing. It is either you can use the YML or you can use the JSON. So there's two options they have provided. So if you need to add more comments and those kind of things, you can choose the YML format. But if you are used to JSON, you can use the JSON format to define those manifests.
I have one. Yeah.
Right.
Sure. Hi, Chaitranga. This is Yogendra coming from Indigene, Bangalore. So I have a question. Firstly, I would like to thank Sitecode for this wonderful service, JSS, because since this is a heavy dependency on the back end, we have been talking to SQL Server in the background. Whatever we do on the editor, it goes back to CSS editor. And I'm glad that Sitecode has exposed the layout service via API seamlessly, which we could integrate with just JSON knowledge and basics of Sitecode. Firstly, I would like to thank Sitecode for that. Thank you. And my specific question is, yes, since we are maintaining the page layouts or the page renderings as YAML files, at that juncture, say if I have make modifications on the experience editor, if I edit or remove the images, etc., is it bidirectional? Does it talk back to the YAML file and keep track of the YAML file or the changes that's needed there?
Yeah, that is a good question. This is not bidirectional. So either you will have to choose the code first approach, or either you have to choose the Sitecode first approach. So the syncing happen is it will map the items using those paths and the name. So if say that if you edited the field in Sitecode, if the field is existing in the YAML file, it will overwritten by that next deployment. But if you have say that in the content structure you have a new item defined, it will not. If it is not defined in the YAML file, it will not be overwritten. So that is how it is work. But that is how it is working in the code first approach. Okay. And if you choose to move, initially when you are say that in the first phase of a website, you choose to more of the front end developers work. So once you have done those front-end work, you can move into psycho-first approach. Once you decided that you can, but this is not bi-directional.
Okay, it depends on the approach that we do take at discretion.
Sorry?
It depends on the approach that we do take for discretion.
I didn't get.
Okay. So I mean to say the solution is primarily dependent on the approach.
Yes,
if it's
yes,
a side call.
yes.
Thank you.
Hi, this is Arvind. I work for KPIT. I just have one little question. When we start with the JSS demo, we see that there are three components. One is header, one is footer, and one is promo. So when we deploy that JSS application into the site core, when we deploy it, will it create three separate components and three different rendering into the site core instance?
Yes.
For those components which are defined in JSS?
Yes, I will, if I can show you, okay. Can we move to demo, please? So, as you asked, we have defined these three components, footer, header, and promo. And if we go into site code, and you will see in the renderings, here you will see footer component and header and promo. And you will see these layout details like templates and everything is assigned to these. Yeah, you will see the data source location, data source template, those are also assigned. So that is how the components are created, and data sources are created under page content. So these will be populated with the data that comes from your JSON. So everything is configured, and if you look at the presentation of the home item, you will see all the layouts are also by default configured into that item with the placeholder names.
So got it. So it's all part of that deployment, right?
Yes.
So if we want to customize those things, like I want to have different data source path, so that can be customized in that framework?
I'm not sure about that question because it is quite new, and maybe I will check that with and get back to you. But I'm because you can define what item names. For example, here we are the item names are defined automatically, but you can provide the name. I have seen there was a text, YML text you can use to define the name like that. But I'm not sure about whether you can change the path. So we'll have to confirm later.
No issues. Thank you, Chatra.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hi, this is Charu Agarwal, a site core architect from TCS. So my question, actually, it was similar to what that guy asked. But what I want to ask is that, so when we do this, develop these components using Sitecore GSS, so we say that we do not lose any functionality of Sitecore. So that means the content authors and marketers, they will still go to the experience editor and can do their content editing, or their applying the personalization rule on those components that we created using this Sitecore GSS. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so but when we apply those personalization rules and all, so the impact it has, so I mean any change if it has, so that has to be, I think that part you answered, that what he asked, how it reflects back to.
Yeah. So if you change the personalization, anything from the Sitecore side, it will be get overridden with the next deploy if the item exists in the YAML definition. Or but if so, you will have to choose which way you need, Sitecore first or code first. Or either you can change from code first once you are done with initial development, and then you can change to Sitecore first approach after that.
Okay, and one more question I had. So in the headless CMS scenario, so there, so when we apply personalization rule on the experience editor, so but if I want to access that content in some other application, I want to push that content to maybe the mobile app. So then would that personalization rules, will that work or it's not?
Yes, because what happen is there is a layout service. It will, if you have a personalization that is defined in an item, okay? So the layout service is on top of the presentation layer. So anything underneath that one will be converted into layout from the layout service into JSON.
Okay.
So that is the main thing that we need to understand. We will have all the capabilities with analytics, testing, personalization with this new layout approach. That is a very good thing that JSS team has done.
Okay. So, if I want to push this content to some mobile app, then I would need to use those JSON files and push that content to mobile app. Is that correct?
The data will be the JSON written from the layout service. So you have to use your whatever front-end mechanism to, for example, one thing we discussed was, since you are getting the JSON, you don't have to depend on these sample applications. If you can write a application, whatever language, to read the JSON and do whatever you need, you will have all the capabilities in SUGCON and content management, everything. And if you can read the JSON from your application, you can code whatever way you need.
Okay.
So, and these applications, what I showed, they're like we used one application, JSON sample app, or those things are just for they have provided just for the have idea. So you are GSS team is not defining any approach you should take. You should do it like this way, you should do like this. They are not defining. These sample apps are just for to have to see how it is working, but you are totally free to define what approach, what technologies you are using in the front end.
All right, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, last two questions. Yeah. I think we have a question behind you.
Hey, I'm Prashant from iSango. We just started the site code development, and I would like to understand the approaches you mentioned. One is the code first, second is the site code, and third you mentioned in your presentation is the integrated. Okay, so like for example, if we have a few developers who are not comfortable with the backend or anything, and we want to create the single solution, okay, few developers can work only on the code first approach and few developers can work on the site code first approach. So is it possible?
You mean follow the same, like front-end developer will initially work on the front-end and back-end developer will same time work on the template side?
Yeah, in the same solution actually.
It is like this. When you are initially define the process, it should be, when you are say that you can approach it like you initially, since front-end developers will define the templates and everything, and they will initially push the content site code, and then back-end developers can start working on it. Until you define the first structure and how you design one path has to wait for that.
So my idea was that just to understand that if we can segregate out the complexity, I hope you will understand that sometimes front-end developers do not want go into the SiteCon instance and installation and everything. They just want, okay, we have the HTML navigation structure, we want to work on that side. And in parallel, if we are working on some other modules in the back end and we need that SiteCon instance for the same. So how these two things can work in parallel in the same solution actually?
If you are front-end developer, you will be working on the app we have created.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
Once you have pushed it to a site code, the templates will be there. Okay? And presentation is the thing we are discussing. Presentation, either you are using your front-end application, React or Angular. That should be done by the front-end developer. So that presentation part is you have to decide either you are going with the layout service or either you are taking the path of normal website development with the CSS, HTML, that part.
Okay,
Right.
fair enough. Thank you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, because of the paucity of time, the next question would be last, and he'd be asking that question. I know we all have a lot of questions to ask Chaturanga. There's a 25-minute break, and he's a very accommodative man. He would love to answer some of your queries during the break as well. So, ladies and gentlemen, last question coming up for the session.
Hi, I'm myself Harsha from GE Healthcare. Thanks for the wonderful session. So I see a lot of advantages from the front-end developer perspective of this whole JSS framework. I just want to know, in case you already have a Sitecore application which is developed from 8.2, and if you want to take advantage of this whole JSS concept, does it provide any kind of reverse engineering where I can migrate my project easily to the JSS framework?
That I'm not sure about that one, but I hope that is not possible because there is some structure you have to follow. So, but that I will get back to you. Since this is still in preview, we are most of the not 100% knowledgeable about this. We'll have to ask that from the creators. But to give you an example about the live site, currently Symposium site is developed on JSS. So that is the first live application that is developed by using this JSS.
Okay, thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was the last question for this particular session. Can I hear a big round of applause for Chaturanga? That was very comprehensive. Thank you for your patience as well. I'd like to add, ladies and gentlemen, that in case you have any questions, right, you have any queries, speakers are around. There's a 25-minute break, so please feel free to talk to them, interact, and get to know each other a little better. Now, like I said, there is a tea break now for 25 minutes. Kindly note, there's a very important announcement. We'll be having the breakout session starting after 25 minutes. So when you need to step out of the room, basically, and even if you don't like to have tea, you need to step out, right? And make sure, that's because we're going to be putting on the partition, right? Make sure that you do not leave your belongings anywhere out here. A little bit of clarity regarding the breakout sessions. Basics of X Connect by Mr. Alok Kadudeshmukh could be conducted at breakout room 1. Now kindly note, breakout room 1 is on my extreme right, which is my right and your left. This is breakout room 1. There will be a partition coming between, this is 1, this is 2 and 3. All right. And introduction to EXM and how marketing automation helps by Mr. Prateek Sathikumar will be conducted at breakout room 2, where I'm standing at right now. This is room number 2. Right? And lastly, the revenue engine optimizing MarkTech investments to drive revenue by Mr. Vivek Mehra will be conducted at breakout room 3, which is on my extreme left. Thank you once again, ladies and gentlemen. A quick reminder before you go away. I hope you're tweeting and talking about this on the social media. If you're tweeting, I have a small suggestion. Tweet good things. Okay, now, hashtag SUGCON 2018, you need to use that. Talk about it on Facebook, Instagram the pictures, and once you're done at the end of the day, flash everything at the reception. I had a peek at the goodie bag right now. It's amazing. They've got some speakers, they've got some USBs, and they've got some assorted goodies inside a nice bag. You want that, right? Please step out at the end of the day, go to the registration desk, flash whatever you've done with respect to social media, and win yourself a goodie. Ladies and gentlemen, 25 minutes break. I'll see you at the other end of the break. Thank you very much.